Is your party willing to accept any checks across the North Sea, even if they are of a regulatory nature, not customs checks?
No, and it's been very clear all along. That has been our one red line, that we cannot have either a customs border down the Irish Sea or a regulatory border, because that would make us separate from the rest of the United Kingdom. And that doesn't work from a constitutional perspective, and it doesn't work from an economic perspective either.
What if there was some political declaration that, OK, we have to agree to the possibility of checks, but they'll never be used? There's no way that they can add some language that would make you happy with any kind of the extra checks?
No, because of course that would impede the constitutional integrity of the United Kingdom, and the Prime Minister has been very clear. She is a Unionist. She believes in the union of the four countries of the United Kingdom, and therefore there can be no borders, whether of a regulatory nature or of a customs union nature either.
How closely is the government talking to you about this, or working with you on this, or do these sort of news headlines take the DUP by surprise?
Well, I think Dominic Raab said that yesterday's story was speculation. We are, of course, speaking to the government on an ongoing basis. We do recognise that we're reaching a crunch time in the negotiations in relation to our leaving of the European Union. Therefore, it's important that we continue to have those conversations, and it's important that we understand what the proposals are in relation to the Irish border.
Given that Theresa May is a Unionist and she's said that she believes in keeping the integrity of the Union, why do you think that she would want to reach out with this kind of proposal, that's something that you don't favour?
Well, we don't know that she's doing that yet, and I think we should wait to see what the text actually says in relation to any offer that's been made to the European Union. I think the way in which the European Union have dealt with this has been a complete misrepresentation of the Belfast Agreement. They don't understand the fact that Northern Ireland is an integral part of the United Kingdom, and I'm quite sure none of the other EU countries was like it if the European Union said, you know what, you can annex off a piece of your country to try and find a solution to a problem. That's not the way forward. The way forward is for us to have a pragmatic negotiation, one that works for everybody, one that works for the European Union, but one that must work for the United Kingdom as well.
So if Prime Minister Theresa May does want to push forward with something that looks similar to our reporting yesterday, would you vote against any kind of deal that looked like that and actually risk bringing down the government then?
Well, we're not at that stage yet. That's a hypothetical. Let us wait and see what has been proposed. She's very clear about where we are in all of this. We have always said we have just got the one red line. We cannot be separated from the rest of the United Kingdom from a constitutional position and also from an economic reason as well.
Does the Canadian proposal, or not proposal, something that looks like a Canada-style trade deal, does that start to look more preferable? Would you favour that with the checks that could put in place across the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland? Would you favour that versus something that looked like what we were reporting yesterday?
I think the difficulty with all of these proposals are they're very vague. People talk about Canada, Super Canada, Norway, all of those sorts of things. For me, it's very simple. We have to see the text to see what it means in reality for Northern Ireland, for the United Kingdom and for the European Union going forward. So it's a very boring thing to say, I know, but we have to see the text so that we can assess whether it breaches the red line or not. You cannot say whether it breaches the red line in a hypothetical situation.
But if there were a choice, if you had to choose between border between Northern Ireland and checks across the North Sea, I assume that you would choose the border.
Well, of course there's a border there. At the moment we have a different VAT regime, we have a different currency regime.
But infrastructure on the border?
No, well, I mean, the government's been very clear that the UK government will not be putting any physical infrastructure at the border. We support that because we want to continue to have a good relationship with our nearest neighbours and continue to allow people to flow in the way that they're doing at the moment.
If you don't support the government, then we could see no deal. Would that be an OK situation with you if we end up with no deal?
Look, I don't think anybody wants to see a no-deal situation. We all want to see something that works for the United Kingdom, but also something that works for the European Union as well.
Do you worry that no deal or some kind of hard Brexit solution could fuel efforts to drive a united Ireland? Is there going to be a vote on a united Ireland? Do you foresee one in 10, 20 years? What's the time horizon around that for you?
No, I don't see that because, you know, people recognise that being in part of the United Kingdom, they may not be unionists in the traditional sense that I am a unionist, but they recognise economically that it's the best place to be. Our National Health Service is something that's very cherished in Northern Ireland. They recognise that that's a fundamental part as well. So all of this talk from some people on the Remain side about the Irish border actually is quite, well, it's not just unhelpful, it's disrespectful for those of us who live in Northern Ireland, who want to remain part of the United Kingdom. I have to say the Prime Minister has been very on message in relation to this, and we want to continue to support her in doing that.
You've talked about the Good Friday Agreement not being sacrosanct.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that? It's created a lot of buzz on Twitter, as you might expect.
Well, I don't know why that's the case, because, of course, the Belfast Agreement has already been changed on a number of occasions. It's been changed by the St Andrews Agreement, by the Stormont House Agreement. So for people to talk about the Belfast Agreement as if it's infallible, that's not the right thing to do. It was an agreement of its time 20 years ago. Of course, things change, and we need to reflect that. And that's all I was saying when I said it wasn't sacrosanct.